This content is brought to you by Uphold, which is a great platform that makes it easy and simple for you to buy, hold, and sell and earn crypto. You can trade from anything to anything. For example, you can trade between cryptocurrencies and precious metals. It's an amazing platform that I've been using for years. And in fact, I still use to this day because they're one, a great exchange, they're reputable, and they're one of the only exchanges that still lists XRP. Many of the other exchanges have delisted XRP due to the SEC lawsuit, but you can still get XRP on Uphold. So I've interviewed the CEO, the founder, and many other representatives from Uphold over the years, and I'm a fan of this platform. And once again, there's some great features like trading between different assets very easily. You don't have to convert to a currency and so forth. They're used by 10 plus million users. They have over 200 cryptocurrencies, and they have a very easy to use app. The interface is really nice. So I can certainly vouch for this platform. Once again, I've been a user for years. So if you'd like to learn more about Uphold, please visit the link in the description. Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. With me today is Gareth Soloway, who is the Chief Market Strategist at InTheMoneyStocks.com and VerifiedInvestingCrypto.com. Gareth, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to talk.
So, Gareth, we've been talking for months. We've been following the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum and talking about the entire crypto market as well. And I want to get an update from you. Has your thesis changed? You called $20,000. You've been highlighting that potentially we can go below 20 to maybe the 13K range, 12, 13K range. What's happening from your perspective?
Yeah, so it still looks very, very plausible. And I'd like to just point out the fact that, I mean, the bounce we saw in Bitcoin, if you looked at it and compared it to the stock market, has been really, really weak, right? So you could see this kind of angle of this bounce. And then we obviously are already retesting this area here, which is around 19,500 to 600. Now, the reason that's a significant level is that happens to be the 2017 high. So that's a big point, right? That is a big, big level. And again, if you compare it to the stock market, if you look at the NASDAQ, for instance, the NASDAQ had a much more sharp incline. So to me, that tells me there's relative weakness in Bitcoin. And while I still think there's always going to be bounces along the way on Bitcoin, it does concern me that we didn't see a bigger bounce in Bitcoin off of this level to start with. And it does tell me that whenever we see a big sell-off in the overall asset market, Bitcoin probably is still headed down to 12 to 13,000, maybe even lower. So again, it doesn't mean we can't have a bounce here. Basically, right now, the dollar is in control. If the dollar has a small pullback, crypto, stocks, they'll all bounce. But again, you have to just wonder, what's the Fed going to do in September when it comes to their rate decision?
Yeah, to your point, I think a lot of people were surprised that Bitcoin didn't move the way the stock market did, and it just shows, to your point, a lot of weakness. And could that be part of the black swan events that took place? You had Terra Luna, you had Voyager. There's just a lot of potential risk and risk of collapse. And we just heard about Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy getting sued this morning.
Yeah, I mean, so you're absolutely right. I mean, that's part of it, right? You have gun shy investors that are very wary of crypto right now because of Terra Luna, because of Celsius. Again, you don't get FDIC insurance on your crypto account, so then if someone steals your funds, they're gone. I mean, there's so many different things that are negative, and I think one of the biggest ones is there's this regulation that's looming out there, right? We know the judge is kind of deciding about the Ripple case. Gary Gensler is saying, hey, everything but Bitcoin basically is a security. And what the heck does that mean? Like, no one knows really what the rules are going to be if it's not a commodity like Bitcoin. Instead, it's a security. And so I think it's creating this kind of period where no one wants to commit big capital. I mean, sure, if someone buys a little bit here, whatever there, but you're not seeing big money go into crypto right now. And without that, it's very hard to get big bounces.
For sure. And you mentioned the Fed. Jerome Powell spoke, and his sentiment was essentially that more pain is ahead. What do you think they do next month? Do we get another 50 basis points or 75 basis points hike?
Yeah, so I'm in the camp of 50 basis points in September. I think the rest of the year, you'll probably only see 25. I do think that the Fed is talking a tough game because they have to, right? If they all of a sudden started talking a dovish game, what would happen? Asset prices would surge and then inflation would start going up because when asset prices go up, everyone feels richer, so they're willing to spend more money, right? So he's got to talk a tough game, but the bottom line is that they will back off when the economy gets weaker, and it's already starting. We just haven't seen the jobs numbers get weak yet, and I think Friday's jobs number is going to be really important to the overall market to based on what is it going to tell us will the likely outcome of the Fed next decision be. So I think the Fed talks a tough game, but they know deep down that whenever we get into a recession, if it gets bad and inflation is still, let's say, 4 or 5%, they can't print us out like they have done the last many recessions. And that's scary. Like the market at some point has to come to that realization that the Fed is not going to swoop in and save the day. And I think that's a big issue that we haven't even touched on yet in the markets.
Sure. I think there's still some optimism, right? And folks
Yeah.
still feeling a bit of bullishness. Oh, they did all this rate raising. They can't go much further, but they could. We are in kind of the deflationary era now. They have to pop the bubble, right?
Yep.
So with that said, the stock market saw a bump, but what's your outlook on the stock market and in the coming, maybe towards the end of the year?
Yeah, so I think that really at this stage, you're looking at a stock market that rallied substantially. Bear market rallies are notoriously super, super strong. And we kind of went up to some levels that on a technical basis are really, really key. And I'm going to show my charts here, just getting my charts kind of under ready to go here. But if we take a look at the SPY, which is the S&P 500, look at the size of the rally and then look at where it went. You can see the beautiful technical trend line here from the all-time high on the S&P to this high, and that was the high on the market. In addition, look at if you add the 200 moving average in, it also hit to literally to the penny the 200 moving average. And then we saw this bigger rollover here. So to me, when I see this, I say, okay, this was a bear market rally. We are in a bear market. Remember, it was don't fight the Fed on the way up, which meant you stayed long. Well, now the Fed is being hawkish, so you're not supposed to fight the Fed on the way down, which is a bear market, that means. And so I do think, again, you'll get bounces. Like I have a major support on the SPY around 391-ish. But
Hmm.
I think you bounce there, but it's again bounces in a bear market are made to be sold into, and I think we're going to go a lot lower into year end and into early 2023. I still have a downside target of at minimum 338 on the SPY, which puts us right to the highs before COVID. So I think that's going to be a humongous support line. It's still a long way away, probably about 18% down on the S&P. But I do think, again, by end of year or early 2023, we're probably in that range.
And I want to just quickly jump back to crypto because I forgot to ask you about Ethereum. We got the merge coming up. So you have this narrative, but it could be a buy the rumor, sell the news type of situation. Do you expect us to see any type of bounce because of the news or from a technical analysis standpoint?
Yeah, so I think part of the reason Ethereum has outperformed percentage wise. So if we go to the Ethereum chart, right? If you looked at where we bottomed out, it was around 800 and change. We went as high as 2000. So Ethereum rallied over 100% from the low to the recent high. Now, if you compare that to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin didn't even get close to that. So I do attribute some of the Ethereum rally to be the excitement around the merge. Now, the question is, after the merge, what ends up happening here? Do we still see more upside? Does it kind of translate into just a stronger Ethereum price or not? My guess is short term, no. But I do think what the merge is going to do to Ethereum being slightly deflationary and having other aspects to it, I do think it potentially puts Ethereum in position to rival the market cap of Bitcoin down the line. But
Hmm.
again, when I say down the line, we're talking years out. Short term, fear and greed always rule. And I think fear will take over. When Bitcoin goes to 12, 13,000, my guess is Ethereum's headed much lower as well. Down the line, Ethereum starts to rebound and maybe even rivals that market cap of Bitcoin.
Um, do you have kind of price prediction for the short term, maybe September, October. Maybe see a bounce at 3,000 maybe, and then straight down.
Yeah, I mean, if we do get a big bounce, the 200 moving average on Ethereum's around 2150. So I'd be hard pressed to think we'll get above that. So I think that's your best case scenario. I'm nervous that we don't even get there, and that maybe we get a bounce into the merge and then a sell the news event afterwards. So it's tough to know. I mean, bottom line is, I think as an investor who, and I love Ethereum, I like Bitcoin as well. For me, it's when we get down towards these lows, when we break lows, if Bitcoin starts going to like 15, 12,000, I'm just going to basically start dollar cost averaging with small positions. And basically the thought process there is that I truly believe in Ethereum and Bitcoin. The other ones, it's kind of the rulings out on those at this point. But those you just kind of slowly inch in, understanding they could still go a lot lower, but knowing, or at least having the probability that in a year, 5 years, 10 years, they'll be much, much higher.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Gareth, when do you think you're going to flip bullish? Is it going to be sometime in 2023 when we've really hit bottom? The Fed has squeezed us into much
Yeah.
pain. Is that when you're going to flip bullish?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it will start kind of around 12 to 13,000. But in all fairness, I'm being very realistic in saying that we could go much, much lower than that. But at that point, I think the downside is limited, right? So I mean, what's at 12 to 13,000? There's only 12 to 13,000 left it could go, right? So
Yeah,
versus if you're in at 69,000 and we're now at 20, I mean, that's a long distance of drop. So for me, it's a couple things. It's price point. So how much risk to the downside is there in a worst case scenario? And then also it's a matter of looking at what's going on in the crypto sphere, looking at regulation. So I'm a big believer that the regulation, whether it's good or bad, the market just wants to know. Investors want to know the rules. Without knowing the rules, there's no big money that's willing to go in. So you have to get this regulation out there. That's going to be a kicker for me. That'll be where I start to say, okay, now we know what the deal is here. Now we can at least value these things appropriately. And then, like I said, you want to see that fear and panic get to so pervasive levels like it did in 2018, where people were saying, oh, I don't think Bitcoin's gonna survive. We haven't seen that in crypto yet. Yes, Terra Luna blew up. You've had some other blowups, but you're not seeing it to the extent where a true bottom is in yet. So we need to see that absolute fear and panic, the washout of all the weak hands. And then that's where, again, I go contrarian. I say, okay, this is really max pain.
yeah,
Now I start, looking on the bullish side.
absolutely. I don't know if you follow the real estate market much, but any thoughts on what's happening there? It seems the prices are coming down, which all assets are starting to come down a bit.
Yeah, so I think that's exactly what we're seeing, right? So I heard Redfin today was saying that they're seeing as many cancellations of houses under contract as they saw in March of 2020, when it looked like the world was ending because of COVID and the panic that came with that. So that to me is a great signal. If it makes a lot of sense, right? Because interest rates have surged. You're now 5-6% on a 30-year. That's a huge difference from where we were a year ago. And also prices have gone up huge in the last year. So it's like a double whammy for buyers. And buyers are getting a little, everyone's hearing recession. That word recession is being thrown around. And so buyers are like, I'm not paying full asking, let alone what they were. Like 6 months ago, it was 100,000 over asking. So it makes a lot of sense. Prices have to come down. I think the Fed wants it to come down. They want to make housing more affordable, and by doing so, they'll also bring down inflation as well. So I think you're going to continue to see weakness in housing, especially if we slip into a recession.
For sure. Final item here. Are you trading anything on precious metals, gold, silver, and things like that?
Yeah, so I am continuing to buy, gold miners. I've been nibbling on a little bit, even a little silver today. Silver's into a really interesting level. Let me see if I can show my chart here on silver, because it is pretty cool. So again, honestly, these haven't performed great. I've been disappointed in the price action, but again, a lot can be blamed on the US dollar being so strong. But what I love about the silver chart here is you can connect these highs, and then if you do a parallel line, we hit right there, and we're now piercing there. And plus you have this downsloping trend line right here that's just right in this range. So I expect silver to get a very significant bounce right around this 18 to 1775 level. And so again, as a swing trade, I mean, who knows where silver is in 6 months, but as a swing trade, I do think this is an interesting level on silver.
Gareth, always insightful information. And I think we'll have to throw a party next year when you flip bullish. I'm waiting for that.
I love it, man. Let's do it. Let's throw a big one.